Our ongoing, if we picked the Oscars game. It's not really a game. I'm not treating it like a game. This is not
Nobody
a game.
wins.
That's right. Nobody's going home with a turkey or a microwave oven. All right.
Wait. I'm not going home with a turkey?
Yeah. And
some of these that are nominated are turkeys. One of the funniest things. I don't know why this made me think of it. Some late night comedian was talking about the movie 13 Days. You know, the Kevin Costner Cuban Missile Crisis movie.
Which I just watched again. That's a good movie, but Kevin Costner is the weak point in it.
That Costner actually went to Cuba and showed it to Castro, and they said this is the only time a bomb has ever been smuggled into Cuba from the U.S.
That movie is good.
It's fine. I like the movie fine.
No, it's a good thriller. It's a really good historical thriller. So
all the supporting performances, you know, Stephen Culp and Bruce Greenwood is the JFK and RFK. Great performances by them.
You know, Matt Damon says his dream project is to play RFK. He'd be good.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, he would be.
Okay. Now that we're off that tangent. We're up to the 90s. We've done the 70s. We've done the 80s. Maybe next week we'll do the 2000s, or maybe we'll do the 60s. Maybe we'll do the whole damn thing.
Yeah, why not?
That would be interesting. I would like that.
Maybe we'll go back before movies were invented and discuss the 5 nominees for Best Painting. I don't know. It could be.
Or Best Painting Play.
Best Hieroglyphics. The nominees are the Aztecs.
Oh, they were packed.
Now we're up to 1990. This is the 63rd Academy Awards. Let me tell you a little bit about it. March 25th, 1991, that's when they took place. Once again hosted by Billy Crystal and produced by Gil Cates. It ran 3 hours and 30 minutes with an audience in the U.S. of 42.83 million. The best picture that year was Dances with Wolves, and it was up against Awakenings, Ghost, The Godfather Part 3, and Goodfellas. Now, this is one of those contentious things because most everybody thinks out of these 5, Goodfellas, yes, but it didn't go that way.
No,
bad.
I love the soundtrack. John Perry's score is the one thing that really stands out for me about Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
But this is Goodfellas for me. And I like The Godfather a lot, but even that's just there, I guess, for ceremony, really, for nostalgia. But I do like it. I know I'm in a minority, but no, this was Goodfellas all the way.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, you know, how can you even debate it, really? But it's just so obvious.
But would I have added other things? Like The Craze, maybe. Miller's Crossing.
Ghost?
I would take out Ghost and put Miller's Crossing.
I mean, come on. Ghost is the one that's
I would put Miller's Crossing in there.
Yeah, Miller's Crossing, definitely. I mean, you know.
Or Avalon.
Well, yeah, that's a good one too.
You also had The Grifters, which was actually nominated for director and actress. I mean, it got some big notices, except for Best Picture.
Yeah. Let me tell you some others.
Also, Europa, you know, Agnetha Holland's movie from.
Is that year too? I thought it was the year before, but you're right. No, you're right. Okay. And
Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, the wonderful James Ivory movie that got a few nominations, but didn't really make it all the way through. So
that was a very strong fall for movies. That was a great fall, not a great summer, but a great fall, I thought, for movies. I mean, you had all the heavy hitters: Coppola, Scorsese. You had Alan Parker with Come See the Paradise. You had Stephen
Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of, you just had, let's be honest, 1990, from the late summer on, was, rock solid for movie lovers. Rock solid.
Jacob's Ladder, you know.
Another one, yeah, Jacob's Ladder.
Quick Change, a comedy that I like.
Quick Change is good. Quick Change is, you know, a lot of people make fun of today, but let's be honest, Bill Murray's like, you know, between that and Mad Dog and Glory, he's making this transformation that Wes Anderson would fully capitalize on later on in the decade.
Yes.
So
Miami Blues, that was another one that was great.
That was
great movie.
Great movies. So 90s really this year we don't talk enough about, but I mean, but of what's nominated, you'd have to give it to Goodfellas. I just don't see, it's such an influential movie. It's such a great movie. And we speak of these movies that you can go back to time and time again. That's one of them.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, no question about it.
No one going back to Dances with Wolves. I sure as hell.
Yeah, I mean, it plays on TV a lot, but I mean,
it's a beautiful movie. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful movie.
John Tall's photography is excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful movie, and like I said, the John Barry score is magnificent. But otherwise, I don't think it holds up as well as it should, given its pedigree and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and look at this.
I agree.
I mean, my favorite movie that year, obviously, and this is not. I'm not delusional. I know that this isn't Best Picture material. Is Wild at Heart. But, you know, surprisingly, it got a nomination for Diane Ladd in supporting actress.
They love her, I think. Yeah.
But that movie, too, though, is so influential, though. And, I mean, that's really like I love Blue Velvet, but as I've gotten older, Wild at Heart has sort of really snuck up on and become, I think, maybe one of my favorite Lynch movies.
Interestingly enough, I should say this, that while I was up in Boston, Jason Miller and I sat and watched Wild at Heart. It just happened to be on, and so we sat and watched it and couldn't tear ourselves away from it. And I think Jason was kind of, I guess he's kind of quoting you, Jamie. He remembers the shows. He's such a huge fan. But I think he remembered you saying something about how it was a movie that it seems like at every turn that almost anything can happen. Like you just absolutely never know where the movie is going to go. And watching it again, I said, yes, it's true. This is chaos on film, really. And
Bobby Peru.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
Such a great Defoe performance, Bobby Peru.
Very odd, by the way. Sitting in the room, Jason Miller left the room. It was in his bedroom, and his pregnant girlfriend is on the bed, and he leaves the room. He leaves the room just at that moment where Bobby Peru comes in and goes after Laura Dern, and I was like, oh my God! Well, first of all, his girlfriend is not really into the movies, so this is the first time she's ever seen this, and I'm like, oh my God! I want to change the channel now.
This is a great
were you Bobby Peru? Dean, were you like channeling William Dafoe in the movie? I mean,
I was just like, I got to get out of here because it's like it's just too weird watching it like that.
Did you jump like a bunny out of the room? Let me say this about
91. Let's go to 90. 91.
Let me first say this about it. Because this is important. A lot of times we talk about movies that remind us of other movies. It's telling to me how Wild at Heart pulls as its inspiration all these other movies and pop culture references, and yet it still manages to be its unique
own thing. Yeah.
It's not like any other movie. Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting. Okay, 91. 91, March 30th, 1992 is when this took place. Again, Billy Crystal and Gil Cates as a team. 3 hours, 33 minutes, 44.44 million Americans tuned in. The winner was The Silence of the Lambs. The other nominees were Beauty and the Beast, Bugsy, JFK, and The Prince of Tides.
Prince of Tides, yikes. No way. Out. Out.
But what would you put in there? Let me ask you this.
I still remember the smell of her hair as she led me into the room. It was intoxicating.
That's the best Nick Nolte I've heard ever. That's maybe better than Nick Nolte. Let me ask you guys a question.
I really like Nick Nolte in that movie, and I
he's
think
the best
really
part
good
of
in
it.
that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
Okay, for me personally, out of these 5, first of all, I'm not a big fan of animated, but I recognize that Beauty and the Beast is a good movie. But indisputably, JFK, Bugsy, and probably Silence of the Lambs belong there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that I have a love for JFK, Dean. I know you don't, but I love the movie a lot. But I also adore Bugsy, very much.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh,
I admire JFK, but I can't stomach it anymore after learning other things. But it was good at the time, and at the time I was watching JFK, the first times I watched it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I have to put that little caveat on there that I did used to like it, but I don't anymore. But so I think it deserves to be up there though, because it is at least a technical achievement and so forth, and it was huge at the time, Yeah, for me, but definitely Prince of Tides has to be out, and what I would have put in there, it's an unusual year actually. Not really an overwhelmingly great year, but for me, my favorite Joel and Ethan Coen movie is Barton Fink. So for me, that has to be in there. And unfortunately, I mean, it ended up getting a few nominations, one for its sets and its costumes, and also for Michael Lerner in supporting actor. But how did John Turturro not get in there for Best Actor? It just doesn't make any sense. And how did it not get a screenplay nomination and so forth? It was just too rough of a movie, I think, for some people to take. And
it was too
and
odd.
Also John Goodman. John Goodman is so amazing in that role.
He is.
He's so great in it. So for me, that's the obvious choice. I mean, there were other movies that year that I liked, but most of them came from other countries, so like Raise the Red Lantern from China, and Zentropo from Lars von Trier, and Double Life of Veronique from Kieslowski, The Commitments from Ireland from Alan Parker, and but I mean, American-wise, you have The Rapture, the great Michael Tolkien movie with Mimi Rogers.
That's a very good movie.
That's just astoundingly unlike anything you've ever seen. So if you've never seen The Rapture, please go and watch it. It's just something so unique. It's ridiculous. And also Defending Your Life, Albert Brooks' wonderful comedy.
Yeah. What about Cape Fear?
Cape Fear, yes, definitely. Thelma and Louise.
Definitely. Thelma and Louise. And what about, now I know it's a little movie, but I like it. And I like Frankie and Johnny. I do too. I don't know if it belongs in the Best Picture, but I like Frankie and Johnny a lot. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of little movies like, Rambling Rose and Robert Mulligan's Man in the Moon with the debut performance from Reese Witherspoon, and I like Reuben and Ed, the weird movie with Howard Hessman, and I mean, definitely not an Oscar movie, but
this I think this was the year of Europa, because it got this is the year it got a Best Adapted Screenplay.
It did, but technically, I when I do my list, I go by the year that they actually came out, and so really, in 1990, Europa was hitting the festival circuit and so forth. Okay. So it does get a little confusing.
Let me ask them. Let me bring up this then. If the Best Picture category is about honoring the best movies, but also I think part of it is what's representative of that time, that period of time. Doesn't Boys in the Hood belong in the Best Picture category?
Oh yeah, that's that year. Yes, Boys in the Hood does.
For me,
belong there.
It's not a movie that I particularly like. I think it's a little too didactic and kind of like I don't know, speechy a little bit. I do love Ice Cube in it though. I think he's wonderful in it, but like for me, like that's not a movie that I really respond to. I like Menace to Society a lot better.
Well, that's the next year, isn't that the following year?
A couple of years later, yeah.
Yeah, that's the next year. But also this year we have Jungle Fever. is 91 too, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely
right?
wonderful.
See, that to me is an unsuccessful movie. The only part of that movie that's successful to me is the Sam Jackson subplot, and that subplot is mighty powerful for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes, it is.
I weep when the father kills him and the mother's crying over his body.
Yeah.
It's one of the most emotional moments ever for me. Now, but I was always shocked that Silence of the Lambs won Best Picture, not because it's not a great movie, but I just thought no movie that graphic is going to win Best Picture.
But it did. It did.
And just the subject matter and everything, but it was just such
It's amazing. The legacy of that movie is to this day. I mean, just with the TV show, that the TV show is as popular as it is. That's amazing.
Well, and you think Jonathan Demme, how could he have been the right person for it? But when you watch the movie, actually, he is perfect for it. That whole technique he has of the actors looking into the camera to address one another just makes the movie in those conversations.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It does. You feel like you're being interrogated while you're watching that movie sometimes, and I think that's part of its effectiveness. It really kind of that choice kind of puts you there, and it's quite interesting. It's something you don't see in movies very often.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that winning. Because I actually think that movie does hold up. Holds up very well, actually.
But I have watched that again recently, and I did still like it, but I would still pick Bugsy and JFK over it. But okay. 1992 films. This Oscar telecast was March 29th of 1993. Again, Billy Crystal and Gil Cates. 3 hours, 33 minutes, 45.85 million people tuned in. Best Picture went to Unforgiven. The competition were A Few Good Men, Howard's End, Scent of a Woman, and The Crying Game. Certainly a diverse range of films there.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'll tell you what film belongs in there, but I don't know what I would throw out though. Reservoir Dogs, obviously, I would put in there. But I don't have a problem with Unforgiven because it was that year was just, you speak of that year to me was just so spotty. And especially that summer was like very disappointing and Unforgiven. And you think, a lot of people had thought Eastwood was at this time kind of, he was making, a lot of films that, were hit and miss. But this one just sort of, I don't know whether it was because, I don't mean this cynically, that there wasn't a lot of great stuff out when this was, I remember, I saw a lot of crap that summer.
Also a very not an overwhelmingly good year for movies. Yes.
Yeah, but
but it hit the right time.
This was good.
Unforgiven was the right time. I mean, Eastwood's swan song to the Western, and I think it hit exactly when it needed to hit. And it's a good thing that he held on to it as long as he did because he knew when he first got the script, he knew that this isn't the right time. I need to hold on to this.
Right.
So I think that. I mean, they're all decent movies. You could argue that Sense of Woman is the weakest among them, but there's I would give it to. The Crying Game. I have to rewatch The Crying Game. I liked it a lot, and when I first saw it, and I saw it like opening night.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since. But when you got something like The Player, or you got something like Malcolm X, Malcolm X, which is a tremendous, important achievement that year. It seems odd to have Scent of a Woman or even A Few Good Men in those five.
Well, I agree. The Player definitely deserves to be talked of in this realm. For me, Unforgiven is probably one of the greatest Best Pictures that's ever been given out. I think that it's a movie that I think the reason that it ultimately won was not just because it was the right time and the right time to give something to Clint Eastwood, but also because there's just something about it that just seems instantly classic. There's just something about it. It's just got a feel all of its own that even amongst Eastwood's movies feels like perfect in some way. And I mean, I love Howard's End. I love almost everything that James Ivory came out with in the 90s. In the 90s in particular. I love Crying Game. Crying Game still holds up. Still, even though it's a movie that's like a twist movie, and a lot of times
movie, I don't see how you could make that today. I don't see how you could keep that.
Yes, you couldn't keep it under. You couldn't keep it under wraps.
It's hard to believe it. It's hard to believe it was made at that day. Yeah.
But we're also not bringing up movies like Glengarry Glen Ross.
God, yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Glengarry Glen Ross, Singles. I like Singles. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about Singles, but I like Singles. I don't know if it's Oscar worthy, but I did like that.
It's a fun movie.
Peter's Friend, Kenneth Branagh's Peter's Friends, I thought was interesting. That came out at the end of the year. What else?
I like Hard Boiled. You know, John Woo's Hard Boiled.
That's one of my all-time favorite John Woo movies.
Yes, one of the great action movies. Also, like for little movies, you know, the best, my single favorite lead male performance of the year was Harvey Keitel in Bad Lieutenant, which there was no way that was going to get anywhere near the Oscars. And then my favorite female performance of the year lead was Cheryl Lee in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. So, again,
another one,
another movie that wasn't going to get close to the Oscars. As a comedy, I love My Cousin Vinny. I'm extremely happy that Marissa Tomei got the Oscar that year. And in fact, when I saw that movie, by the way, I said, she's the winner for Best Supporting Actress. There's no way anybody can beat her. And when she won, and there was that whole thing about, she didn't really win, Jack Palance read the thing wrong or whatever, I said, that is just so mean. It was a great performance.
No, it is mean, but we're not talking about another truly great Woody Allen movie was from that Husbands and Wives. Speaking of Judy Davis, that's a really powerful, great movie.
I just read about Husbands and Wives. Like Kubrick was talking to Frederick Raphael because they were writing Eyes Wide Shut at the time. And one of the phone conversations he had with Raphael, he said, "Have you seen Husbands and Wives yet?" And Raphael said, "Yeah, I liked it very much. Did you?" And he said, "Yeah, it's got some good stuff in it."
I love Kubrick's comments on movies. They're always funny.
And actually, when he would ask you a question, he wasn't prepared to indulge in his own answer. He just wanted to hear what you thought about it first. But anyway, I will say, if I gave out the Oscar, it would have gone to Fire Walk with Me because I adore that movie. But I will say, between Bad Lieutenant and The Crying Game, 1992 was the year of the penis, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was.
That's what it'll go down as. The
year of the penis.
The year of the member.
There's a couple of penis mentions in Unforgiven, too, so.
This will go down as the year of the penis. Okay. Mm-hmm. 66th Annual Academy Awards. These were the films of 1993. Took place on March 21st, 1994. Whoopi Goldberg hosted. Gil Cates produced. 3 hours, 18 minutes, 46.26 million Americans tuned in. Schindler's List won. Spielberg finally took home some recognition from the Oscars. It won over In the Name of the Father, The Fugitive, The Piano, and The Remains of the Day. You know, what strikes me about these nominations for Best Picture, especially when they were just 5, they're always like 4 really serious movies, and then they give one slot to the blockbuster audience favorite.
Or they give one slot to something that's really not that great. Like, why is In the Name of the Father in there?
But we see it with, like, Fatal Attraction being nominated. We see it with...
Do you really think In the Name of the Father is not a good movie?
Well, I haven't revisited it in a long time, so maybe I should take a look at it again.
Yeah, because that's I think all 5 of these deserve to be there, to be honest with you. But there are others I would want to put in there, but I like all 5 of these.
Once again, The Fugitive, for Best Picture, The Fugitive is a great comfort food movie. But for Best Picture, you choose The Fugitive over Shortcuts?
Or The Age of Innocence.
Or In the Line of Fire, for that matter.
Yeah. or The Age of Innocence. Definitely Shortcuts should have been in there. Dazed and Confused. Fearless, the Peter Weir movie.
Fearless is good.
God. Yeah.
Fearless is awesome.
Groundhog Day. King of the Hill, the great Steven Soderbergh movie that doesn't get enough love.
Soderbergh.
And then even getting into Menace to Society and True Romance.
These are all great movies.
Woody Allen's Manhattan Murder Mystery. It was a great year, by the way. One of the best years of the decade. I mean, I'm not even mentioning, Three Colors Blue, the Juliette Binoche, the first Kieslowski entry into that trilogy. Naked, Mike Lee's Naked. Clean Shaven from Lodge Kerrigan.
Yeah, Sleepless in Seattle is that year too.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Well, wait, you know what? Yeah, no, What's Eating Gilbert Grape is that year. You're right. And that's a superb movie. There's a lot of wait, no, you're right. What's Eating Gilbert Grape is that year. I'm thinking of something else, but yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas is a movie that people go back to again and again still.
Oh yeah.
That's a movie that's grown in popular love over the years. Falling Down, Joel Schumacher, our good friend, his great movie with Michael Douglas. Even Ruby in Paradise with Ashley Judd. So I mean, all of these unbelievable.
Let me ask you a question, guys.
I would have definitely put Fearless and Age of Innocence in there, and I would have given Best Actor. I would have given Bridges a nomination because he's great in Fearless. Oh my God,
he is
riveting.
One of his great movies.
That's an awesome role.
I mean, it's funny. We're not even, by the way, disputing that Schindler's List should have won. It deserved to win and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything that it got. It should have gotten supporting actor for Ralph Fiennes. And that would be about the only thing that it didn't get that it should have gotten. But I mean, absolutely superb movie, of course, and one of a kind. And
would you have given Holly Hunter Best Actress in retrospect?
No, I would have given it to Juliette Binoche for Three Colors Blue, but Holly Hunter would have come right in there, right behind it, and I would have given Best Actor to Anthony Hopkins for Remains of the Day with David Thewlis coming in.
He's stunning in that movie.
Yeah, and
I mean they're all great. It's a great year. There's no doubt about it. There's a great.
I just rewatched What's Love Got to Do with It. That was a powerful couple, Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne in that movie. And I mean, Fishburne is just ferocious in that movie, and I like the movie. I like the movie fine. I do. But mainly because of those two performances. I mean, the movie.
Well, you need that
without those
in that kind of movie. You need that.
It's pretty much
the movie's not going to work if you don't have that. I mean.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. 67th Annual Academy Awards. Let me go to that page. So hard to type and host at the same time.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right.
March 27th. That's the funniest thing you've ever said, Dean. March 27th, 1995 is when it took place. Oh, this was the infamous year of Letterman hosting. That was
he can host anytime.
Oprah, Uma.
Yeah, the poor guy. Gil Cates produced 3 hours, 32 minutes, 48.87 million Americans tuned in because Forrest Gump was in play, and that was an extremely popular audience movie, obviously, and it won Best Picture. It was up against Four Weddings and a Funeral, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and The Shawshank Redemption. So anyone that didn't think The Shawshank Redemption was appreciated, at least within the industry at the time of its release, is wrong. It got a Best Picture nomination.
It got 7 other nominations too.
The audience were the slow ones to the movie. But
right, that's very true. Very, very good point.
Once again, Four Weddings and a Funeral amongst the top 5 Best Picture nominations, when I'm sure you had more worthy films. What were they? Nobody's Fool, maybe?
Nobody's Fool I would definitely put in there. Maybe Ready to Wear, maybe.
No, not that. That's one of his worst.
I know.
That's one of his
that's
most.
why I said maybe. I only saw it the one time on Christmas Day, and I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And that was right. You know, that should have been Altman's, you know, just masterpiece, but it wasn't.
Ready to Undress. That's how I felt after
Nobody's Fool. I would definitely
Bullets Over Broadway.
Throw in it.
Well, here's my choice. My choice for the movie that absolutely got, even though it ended up winning 2 Oscars, I still think it got railroaded. I think it should have been up for Best Picture and probably 8 other awards, including Best Actor, and all the technical awards, was Tim Burton's Ed Wood, which is one of the most exquisitely made movies of that year. You'd have to go with also, foreign films don't get enough recognition in Best Picture, I still believe. So, you know, there was Kieslowski's 3 Colors Red. There was Zhang Yimou's To Live. There was, this wasn't a foreign film, but it was made by a French director, Vanya on 42nd Street by Louis Malle. And then to bigger movies, you know, something like Natural Born Killers, maybe, which wasn't nominated for anything, and it should have been nominated up there for a few things.
What about Whit Stillman, Barcelona? I would have put
Barcelona.
I thought that's my favorite Whit Stillman movie. So I mean, I would put that. There's other things. I mean, kind of remember watching a lot of movies that year too. But Barcelona was one that was.
Little Women. I think that adaptation of Little Women is. I mean, I know there's been 4 other adaptations of it, but I think that one's the best one by Gillian Anderson. Heavenly Creatures, the great Peter Jackson film. Leon from
The Professional is another one of Luc Besson's best as far as I'm concerned. That's a great one. There's a lot of interesting movies that year. You know, it's really funny though. I know Forrest Gump is like, everyone heralds, and it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong, but the one that really of that bunch, I mean, obviously Pulp Fiction, but The Shawshank Redemption is like, ask people who don't like movies their favorite movie who aren't. The Shawshank Redemption.
It's true. Always. It's like the movie. It's like the movie. Like if you ask like a politician or something, you know what their favorite movies are. It's inevitably Shawshank Redemption. Which there's not many movies that feature a scene of anal rape in it that people love.
No, that's why conservatives like it. But I'll tell you,
there's a favorite movie.
I mean, they also point to Forrest Gump a lot. I mean, but that's a big favorite movie.
Well, it's a Republican fairy tale.
Yeah, I mean, so these both, when movies like infiltrate the culture, they kind of have a life like, this is a great movie because it appeals to both Republicans and Democrats. Like that's the ultimate litmus test for a movie. Mm-hmm. But I will say, Quiz Show, an amazing movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, out of these 5, I'd have to give it to Pulp Fiction. But very close behind is Quiz Show for me.
Yeah, no, Quiz Show is another one that I really loved a lot. That year. I mean, I liked, Quiz Show, obviously Pulp Fiction, Shawshank, The Professional. There's another one, Immortal but Beloved. I might have put, I might have thrown in there. I might have. I'm not. And the other one. The Madness of King George.
Of King George, that's what I was going to put in. I was going to throw that in because that's an insanely great movie.
That's a superb film.
I mean,
that was also the year of the fucking ridiculous Chickaby Arnate, Tea in the Wind, Nell.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That once you think about it, you're just like, yeah, whatever.
But, I mean, little movies like Spanking the Monkey, Fresh, Shallow Grave. Oh, yeah, your favorite Spanking the Monkey. Shallow Grave, Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of... Yeah. Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert,
The other one that I...
Oh, and by the way, my second favorite movie of that year after Pulp Fiction, which should have won Best Picture, by the way, just so I'm on the record. My second favorite movie of the year was a documentary, Terry Zwigoff's Crumb, which...
Crumb is great. But there's another one. There's another movie. What is it? What is the movie I like? The one by, the one was... that movie that Eric Stoltz... Killing Zoe.
Oh, I haven't ever watched it.
I love that movie.
I have watched it. I love
that movie. I love it. It's a great movie. I'm not think the best material.
Also Hoop Dreams, Hoop Dreams as well.
Yeah. And that's the controversy. They thought the Hoop Dreams should have been, they remember Ebert and then wanted that should have been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. Well, they always.
I'm waiting for the day when a documentary does get nominated for Best Picture. It has to happen one day, but it still hasn't. I don't know.
The movies of 1995. This is my personal favorite year of the 90s. A lot of my favorite movies actually come from this year. March 25th, 1996 is when the ceremony took place, once again hosted by Whoopi Goldberg, but this time produced by Quincy Jones. 3 hours and 39-minute running time, 44.81 million people tuned in. Best Picture that year went to Braveheart. It was up against Apollo 13, Babe, El Postino, and Sense and Sensibility. What do you guys think?
Yeah. That's a pretty good lineup there, I think.
That's a great lineup, yeah.
That's a hard lineup to knock anything out of. I think
none of those movies are amongst my favorites from that year.
That's true.
Yeah. I like a lot of them. Yeah. Out of that grouping, I probably would have voted for Babe for Best Picture, which actually did win the award from the National Society of Film Critics, often the most reliable and sort of out-of-the-box thinking critics societies out there. They actually did give it Best Picture to Babe. So, well,
that was the year. Let me say, since this is my favorite year of that decade, and I would give Best Picture or nominations to any of these movies. That was the year of Leaving Las Vegas. That was the year of Dead Man Walking. Most of all, that was the year of Casino. That was the year of Heat. That was the year of The Bridges of Madison County. That was the year of Nixon. I would have nominated all of those over all of the nominations right now as they are in Best Picture.
Really? All of them? Even wow.
Wait. You would get rid of all of them?
You would replace all of them with. Yeah.
Those are my favorite movies that year. So they would replace everything in Best Picture as it is, because I just named 6
And so
movies.
For you, what would have been the movie that you would have voted for?
Casino would have been my number one movie that year.
It is a crime that movie was not appreciated. I just think that people were expecting another Goodfellas, and what they got was like, ugh, like this is much more horrible than I wanted. I wanted something fun
I would have given it to look, Casino, Heat. Right there. Those two. Without a doubt.
I watch those movies more than any other movie in existence. I go back and watch those once, twice a year.
They're masterpieces. I don't go back to any. I'll be honest with you, with the exception maybe is I think I like Sense and Sensibility. A lot of you I actually think is pretty good. I like Braveheart, but I don't think it's not something I want to go back to.
I despise that movie. That's my least favorite Best Picture winner, like maybe of all time.
It's a Sean Connery's favorite movie probably of all time, but
the Bridges of Madison County. Now, the breakthrough for me for Eastwood was not necessarily Unforgiven, even though I think it's a great movie, but it was this one, because here's a book that is as saccharine and as light as you could get, but he built like a real feeling of pathos in that movie. That love story really worked for me. It really resonated. So I felt like a girl watching that movie, because when she had her hand on the car door and she was trying to decide, do I leave with him or do I stay with my husband? I felt like a little teenage girl saying, "Do it, go."
It was definitely emotional and like extremely tense, those scenes. And here's a little personal story real quick. I once took a date This is back in my party days. I once took a date to go see. I should start off by saying that I had taken a hit of acid, and we were hanging out at the park, and the date wasn't going great. She wasn't doing any acid, by the way. And so I said, well, let's go to see a movie. And the only movie that I could see that I wanted to see was Bridges of Madison County. So that's one of the few movies that I actually went to see tripping on acid. And let me tell you, every glass of tea in that movie was a trip into the void. I'm telling you, it was. But that was a great movie. The only problem with Bridges of Madison County, though, is the terrible linking sequences with the kids in it and everything. They're just so awful.
Yeah. Awful.
They're so.
Another one I would. Strange Days, if no one,
Definitely an unusual choice.
And I know a lot of people that love The Usual Suspects. I'm not one of them.
Oh, but yeah, that was.
No, I'm not either.
Well, I know you hated him, but I would put The Usual Suspects. I would put The Usual Suspects in Best Picture.
I mean, for me, just to name some that I really love that should be on here. I mean, I agree that Leaving Las Vegas should be in that running, by the way. It did get Best Actor, Best Supporting Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Screenplay, but somehow didn't get a Best Picture nomination. So it just doesn't make any sense. But also, David Fincher's Seven, of course.
Devil in the Blue Dress.
Seven.
Blue Dress.
Another one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Seven and Devil in the Blue Dress. Hard Eight.
Yep. Safe by Todd Haynes. That great version of Richard III with Ian McKellen, which is just superb.
Oh, that movie's superb. That's an awesome, awesome movie.
But you also have other little movies like Before Sunrise. You have A Little Princess from Alfonso Cuarón. You have Clueless, which is a great screenplay. Dead Man from Jim Jarmusch.
Yeah, these are all great movies.
City of Lost Children. So many movies from other countries. City of Lost Children. La Haine from France. Underground. You have The White Balloon and Ciclo and Institute Benjamenta and
Underground is such a good movie.
Yeah, that movie's nuts. Shanghai Triad. And so many British movies like Angels and Insects and Cold Comfort Farm and
those are both very good.
Kids, even as horrible as that movie is, like Kids.
No, but it was controversial at the time. It was a huge controversy, but it gave us Chloe Sevigny and so you can't. And Harmony Korine, really his arrival. So I mean,
what a gift! What a gift it gave us.
That's a gift. That's a gift. I think so. I like Spring Breakers. I like Spring Breakers a lot and Gummo. So what can you say?
That's like saying Towering Inferno gave us O.J. Simpson. It's like,
he rescued that cat in the movie. He's a good man. He was a good man for that.
And Showgirls, by the way, Showgirls.
1996 films. The date of the ceremony was March 24th, 1997. Hosted by Billy Crystal, Gil Cates produced. 3 hours, 35 minutes, 40 million people tuned in. The English Patient won Best Picture over far more deserving candidates. Fargo, Jerry Maguire, Secrets and Lies, and Shine.
Shine.
I think but the performance, Jeffrey Rush is great in Shine, but the movie itself, not so much. But I would have to go with Fargo or Secret and Lies, both movies that I really liked in the theater a lot. I do like The English Patient, but it's just not a favorite.
I think among those five, Fargo, for me personally.
Yeah, amongst the five, that's the one. That's the one that's actually entered into the culture.
Best movie of the year. The best movie of the year, I don't even think is nominated. Lone Star. I would have to give it to
That's a great one.
That's John. To me, that's one of John Sayles' all-time greatest films. Is Lone Star.
You know that Robert Altman was originally supposed to direct that. I tell you that.
And I could see that. I could see that totally.
You know why he didn't direct it? This is how long he had that property. He didn't direct it because of Heaven's Gate. He was days away from shooting Lone Star, and they pulled it because of Heaven's Gate.
Wow.
Just because why? Because it doesn't really have much to do with Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate affected everybody. I mean, a lot of projects died because of Heaven's Gate, because people were too gun shy about making,
just doing anything that took place in the West.
I love Jerry Maguire, but obviously I wouldn't give that Best Picture. Out of those 5, I'd give it to Fargo, and The People versus Larry Flint, and Dean, I know that you'd prefer Breaking the Waves to be in there.
That's the best movie of the year.
That Breaking the Waves, People versus Larry Flint. Is Lost Highway that year? Or is that the following year?
I think that's the following year. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But Sling Blade...
Sling Blade for sure. I mean... Yeah,
Sling Blade should have been nominated. I like Flirting with Disaster and Citizen Rouge.
Great movie. Great movie.
There's a French film called Ponette that just kills me. The only movie that I've ever seen where that movie, I defy you not to cry in that movie. I don't care what kind of hard heart you have, you cannot do it. That's the only movie that I said I started crying, and then the movie was over, and I was still crying for 2 hours. I was exhausted.
I feel the same way about that movie, Who's Harry Crumb, every time.
Who's Harry Crumb? Yeah, I'm always crying.
But also the year of Train Spotting, Schizopolis from the absolutely weird Soderbergh movie, Trees Lounge from Steve Buscemi, Bottle Rocket, Swingers.
Swingers is there too.
Yep. And People versus Larry Flint too, I think is also very good. So.
Okay, one of Jerry's favorite movies was nominated the next year, as he made clear to us during our last Blu-ray review. These were the movies of 1997. The actual telecast took place on March 23rd, 1998. Billy Crystal and Gil Cates came back, the largest audience ever for an Academy Awards ceremony at 57.25 million, because that was the year of Titanic. Over As Good as It Gets, Jerry's favorite movie, The Full Monty, Good Will Hunting.
Wait, The Full Monty got nominated?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God.
It did.
And L.A. Confidential. I
would give it to L.A. Confidential.
Three of these movies I love, actually. Yeah. But
which three?
I know. People will fucking groan, and they always do when I talk about it. But Titanic. I mean, I do love Titanic. Has some kind of indefinable nostalgic quality that really gets to me. But L.A. Confidential, in terms of film, and I love As Good as It Gets, but in terms of filmmaking, L.A. Confidential, hands down, out of these 5.
Easily. But my favorite movie of the year wasn't nominated, although it did get a director nomination and also a nomination for its adapted screenplay. But Adam McGoyan's The Sweet Hereafter, which is just amazing. I would have given it Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Ian Holm, and screenplay, and maybe even score for Michael Dinah. But also the year of The Ice Storm.
And
great
let's not forget
Ang Lee movie.
Jackie Ice Storm.
Jackie Brown. Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights and Jackie Brown. Yeah, that's something. And even
Chasing
something
Amy.
like Woody Allen's Deconstructing Harry is one of his stronger efforts that decade too. So I mean,
Chasing Amy.
Donnie Brasco, which one of Al Pacino's greatest. The Apostle.
He should have been nominated. He should have been nominated for that movie.
Yeah,
absolutely,
without a doubt.
And The Apostle from Robert Duvall. I love that.
Movie.
I love that. It was. Also, Eve's Bayou, I think, is one of the most underrated.
Eve's Bayou, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt, Eve's
Bayou. I mean, I love Kundun. I love Scorsese's Kundun. Gattaca.
That's another one.
Adrian Lyne's version of Lolita was amazing. Yuli's Gold.
Yuli's Gold is superb. But there's another one that we always talk about in this show. Coppola's The Rainmaker.
Yeah,
that deserved.
extremely entertaining movie.
Yeah.
And like for other.
I will say one of my favorite documentaries. It was nominated that year, but that movie and the documentary Dear Zachary are the two that I just find the most emotional, and that's Four Little Girls, Spike Lee's documentary.
Yeah,
I think it's just beautiful. It's such a crucial movie, especially, and it's never not relevant because I mean, look at what we're looking at now in Ferguson.
Well,
it's
nothing changes.
there.
That's a sad thing. Nothing really changes. That's the sad thing.
But I would have given that a Best Picture nomination, Four Little Girls. But they weren't going to do that. But
also that year, there was a great documentary that actually went up against Four Little Girls. Both of them didn't win, but Waco the Rules of Engagement. That's a rare documentary that I went in thinking one thing and I came out thinking something completely different. It just totally changed my view of that event, and just something just I'll never forget seeing the first time. So I also love, by the way, Starship Troopers and Funny Games, the great Michael Haneke movie.
Yeah, the thing about Starship Troopers is that it was eerily foreshadowing of what we would become in the next century. That's what I always found. That's what really gets me about that.
That would have been a sign of the apocalypse. The Starship Troopers were nominated for Best Picture. You know, planets were out of alignment.
Yeah.
Okay. The film's in 1998. The ceremony took place on March 21st, 1999. The host was Whoopi Goldberg. Gil Cates produced 4 hours and 2 minutes. 45.5 million people tuned in. Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture. This is one of the most contentious wins in Oscar history because it beat primarily Saving Private Ryan. But also nominated that year was Elizabeth, Life is Beautiful, and The Thin Red Line. The Thin Red Line and Shakespeare and Saving Private Ryan. Hard to detest those two nominations for Best Picture.
Yeah, I would give the edge to Thin Red Line simply because it just works better as a film, just a different take on a war movie. And Saving Private Ryan is more of a traditional take on a war movie. I also, again, don't like those framing devices in Saving Private Ryan, the beginning and the end. I don't think they work very well, but all the rest of it's great. But
Dude,
how is
was I a good man? Am I a good man?
Earn it. That's all I have to say.
That's the terrible part of Saving Private Ryan. Dean, I just want to ask you one question. Am I a good man, Dean?
Dean, am I a good man?
Have I been a good husband?
I have to say yes. But here's the big thing. It wasn't a big hit when it came out, but The Big Lebowski. That's the thing that Jeff Bridges and John Goodman should have won their respective categories.
Yeah.
Like, hands down,
also
no question.
Out of sight.
Out of sight.
Lebowski. I would even put Twilight, the one Twilight, the Paul Newman movie that we were talking about, James Garner. That was very good.
Yep.
And then that fall, holy shit, you had some good movies. Happiness, Apt Pupil. I don't care what anyone says. I love Apt Pupil. You had some, and you just had some really tight movies there. But
I mean,
you had so many good movies.
Rushmore,
Rushmore,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Primary Colors.
Affliction is pretty. Affliction and A Simple Plan. A Simple Plan.
A Simple Plan.
Simple Plan is a movie. Simple Plan is a movie that I go back to again and again for some reason. I just find that movie so watchable.
It's a great movie.
It's just it's so tautly made, and the acting is so great. It's a movie that's about just as much about character as it is about plot, even though the plot is amazingly riveting. It's just a great film. Also, I'd like to point out Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which was fairly maligned back then.
Big time.
The Truman Show, the great another great Peter Weir movie, and Dark City. as well. You know,
Dark City got lost. Dark City got lost, like in the shuffle there when it came out.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
Bullworth.
Loathing. Bullworth deserves so much because Bullworth was just incredible. I don't care what anybody says. That's a great movie. Very funny. Well, you have all these great movies, and then you get to the Best Picture time. Why don't we pick the 2 Victorian dramas and the 2 World War II movies?
Yeah, they're just all sleepy.
I mean, this is the best you could do. You really want to say this is the best? Come on. I mean, you got like all these movies you talked about, and this is the best you can do.
I didn't even mention my favorite foreign film of the year, which is The Celebration, Thomas Vinterberg's amazing first delving into the Dogma 95 thing. Just
that's a great
incredible.
movie. But I mean, this is, I always want to say, though, this is the best you could. All right, we got the 2 war movies, we got the 2 Victorian dramas. I'm sorry, what was the other one? I forget. You got my memory is going bad.
Elizabeth and
Elizabeth, yeah. Elizabeth and Shakespeare, of course.
But what was the other? What was the 5th movie? What was the 5th?
Thin Red Line, Private Ryan, and Shakespeare, and Life is Beautiful.
Life is Beautiful, right?
For
the Holocaust movie.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think should have won Best Picture though?
Out of those 5, I give it to Thin Red Line, but I'll tell you, it's Private Ryan is really close for.
I would give it to Private Ryan,
and it is odd because most of Private Ryan is so routine. There's a battle, but the battle sequences are so incredibly accomplished.
Yeah.
You know that they're so great that they make you forget how just common the rest of the movie is.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with the movie. That's why I would give the edge to Thin Red Line over Private Ryan.
Me too. Okay. The last year of the 1990s, the films of 1999. Telecast took place on March 26, 2000. Billy Crystal hosted. Richard Zanuck and his wife Lily Finney Zanuck produced. And 4 hours and 9 minutes. It was viewed by 46.5 million people. Best Picture that year went to American Beauty. Its competition was The Cider House Rules, The Green Mile, The Insider. God bless it for being in there. And The Sixth Sense. I will say the only movie that I think belongs there is The Insider. I think American Beauty is one of those overrated movies. That's just me personally.
No, but
it's definitely a movie that has fallen in people's eyes. Like people now, I mean, it was so loved when it came out, but like it wasn't more than 3 or 4 years later where people said, "How did that happen? We don't love it anymore at all." So
it's a good movie. It's not a great movie.
I would put Magnolia and I would put Sweet and Lowdown in its place in a second. Over.
I would put Magnolia.
Yeah.
I would put The Limey. In there. I'm sorry. I would definitely put The Limey. I like All About My Mother is another one, and I think that won Best Foreign Film that year, if I'm not mistaken.
It did. Mm-hmm.
But that was so good. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I like SLC Punk. I thought that was a superb film that came out earlier. I liked Election. Election was superb.
Election, yes.
I mean, 99 was a really good year for movies. No,
99 and 93 were the 2 best years of the 90s. I mean, like, okay, so Magnolia, for me, should have been the winner. I mean, just hands down, like the movie, maybe the movie of the new millennium, I would say. And but then I would have definitely had a second place go to Mike Leigh's Topsy Turvy, which is one of the great musical biopics of all time. Definitely The Insider next. Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, obviously. And Election actually would have been my choices for the 5 Best Picture nominees, but then you got things like Iron Giant, The Matrix, the great documentary which many people haven't seen. If you haven't seen it, go out and you can rent it. It's by Richard Sandler. It's called The Gods of Times Square. Unbelievable documentary, like nothing that's ever been made and ever could be made again. Fight Club, Office Space, The Straight Story, Talented Mr. Ripley, American Movie, Three Kings.
I would have put The Talented Mr. Ripley for. I mean, that's probably my favorite Anthony Minghella film right there. I would have put that in there. American Movie is another one, superb. One of the other one, John Borman's The General.
Yeah.
I would have put that in there.
Toy Story 2. You've got South Park, the South Park movie, Galaxy Quest, Being John Malkovich.
Being John Malkovich especially. But you mentioned these are a year of a lot of movies that were dead on arrival that became cult classics, Fight Club, and more importantly, Office Space. Everyone references Office Space,
and Galaxy Quest too, to a certain extent.
Everyone wants to make a sequel to, and then Galaxy Quest is a great movie. Super, and you also have Any Given Sunday is that year too. I'm not saying it's one of the best, but it's from that time too.
I'm just happy that they nominated The Insider, because here's a movie that made $5 at the box office, and I think to myself, this is actually, it's too long, I guess, for a lot of people, but it's actually a movie that people would really like because it's a Rocky story. I mean, it's like a big underdog story. But yes,
it is. No, it's a very well done movie.
It is. I think
American Beauty just doesn't hold up. It just doesn't hold up at all. I mean.
Yeah, it's flimsy, and you can kind of see right through it and everything. Its major asset is its acting, though. I mean, those two lead performances are so great in it that it's kind of hard to, But I mean,
no, it is. You're right. It is.
But how could you I mean, to me, the two great male performances lead that year are Russell Crowe in The Insider and Richard Farnsworth in The Straight Story, which I think it's hard to pick between those two performances, even though I like Terrence Stamp in The Limey and Matt Damon in Talented Mr. Ripley as well. But it's just so hard to pick between those two performances being.
Okay, next week, do you want to do 2000s or 60s?
Let's do the 2000s, and then we'll go back.
We'll go back, yeah.
God, this thing, the life of our show will be taken up by this game. We're just doing one category. Imagine if we could do this every week as long as we live. If we do this category,
we could do the actors and so forth and so on. I mean, all that stuff's very interesting.
Okay, go to our website, moviegeeksunited.net, for the latest content, the latest news about our show, including our Tinseltown Tragedy series that premieres in October. Thank you, guys. Great show.
All right. Great show.
Thank you
Good night,
so
everyone.
much.